They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Quick, we better go to the Winston and grab a pint.
Sorry, Phil. So yeah, this show is kind of timely because The Walking Dead is about to premiere their new season. Or they actually did, didn't they? Yeah, last I guess it was Friday, maybe. Yeah. So, and I'm anxious to watch. I'm trying to catch up on the show right now. So that because it's, every time they do this, they put out a season and then you got to wait a year to get to the next one. It's like
and this season aren't they only putting out half?
No. Every year, what they do is they do like half the season, then take a mid-season break for maybe a month or so, and then they'll be back. It's not like Game of Thrones, where
Game of Thrones
they did half a season, then you got to wait a year. I mean, it's not coming back till January. Oh, God, pissed me off. Anyway, folks, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the zombie apocalypse, if it's possible, and what you should do if it is. So, coming up on Black Lotus. Conspiracy theories, the paranormal, UFOs, aliens, and all things strange and unusual. This is Black Lotus. So, off the bat, let's talk about whether or not this kind of thing is possible. What do you think?
Well, like we say about everything, and everything is possible in this new world where things are so strange and things are happening that who knows what could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought that, it's possible. I don't know that it's probable. And it's I certainly don't think that it's probable that people would die and reanimate. I think if something like this happens, it's going to be due to an infection, like sort of like a mad cow disease kind of thing. But I mean, you remember the movie 28 Days Later,
correct?
And Zombieland, and those were based on those kind of things, where it started off as an infection kind of thing. I think Zombieland started off as tainted meat in a hamburger or something like that.
30 Days Later.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if it's possible, I think that's what would likely happen. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, maybe somewhere out there in the universe, since everything is possible, maybe there is a society out there that is plagued by zombies.
Could you imagine?
Oh, God. I can imagine. And I've dwelled on this a lot.
If that's the problem, is you can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, one of the things that I would always do whenever I was going out to like rent a new apartment or a condominium or something like that, how zombie proof is it? I mean, that's the first thing I would look for. What about the windows? Windows aren't your friends. In the zombie apocalypse, they really aren't. So yeah, I mean,
and just about every room has windows.
Yeah. I think the safest place for you to be, honestly, if you live in a city, is probably like a third floor apartment or condominium, where the only access to the world is your front door, let's say. So if zombies are hanging out in the hallways, and that's the only thing you would really have to border up. If you're up on the third floor, you have windows to the outside, but the zombies aren't likely to climb
unless they're smart enough to know how to use a ladder.
Yeah, well,
there you go. I think that's the problem with trying to calculate for a survival of a zombie apocalypse, is that we don't know what kind of zombies it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Are they slow like Night of the Living Dead, or Zombieland? They were a little faster, a little smarter.
Yeah, and like in World War Z, in the book,
super fast.
In the book, they were typical Romeroan zombies. George Romero zombies. They're slow and sluggish. But in the movie, they made them into these super zombies, where they're running and they were climbing over each other and creating ladders for themselves, kind of thing. I hated that movie.
It's not a bad movie if you put it aside as a zombie movie and not the book.
Yeah.
But it was not the book. The book was just a recollection of bits and pieces of people's lives and how they dealt with the zombie apocalypse.
Right.
It's almost like a diary of their moments that made things happen.
And in a way, I'm kind of glad that they're coming out with another one. And the reason for that is because in the first movie, it didn't even finish the book. And in the book, I mean, what was it called? The alternative plan they had? They didn't even touch on that. you know, and
Well,
the
it didn't
big
follow
thing
the
that,
book much at all anyway. So.
yeah, I mean, and one of the big scenes in the book was the New Jersey thing, you know, and that they didn't even touch that in the movie, and it was sad, you know. This upset me, but again, you're right. I mean, the movie itself, if you haven't read the book, you probably like it, you know. I think, but just one of those flicks. But so we were talking about Zombieland, and I think in preparation for the zombie apocalypse, everybody should watch Zombieland.
Right.
And the reason for that is because of his rules. There's a lot of good advice in there, actually.
Very good advice.
Yeah.
Why do you think I do DDR every day now?
Yeah, there you go.
Got to get my cardio
Get
in.
cardio up, and one of my favorite ones is the double tap. You know, because so often, you know, you see in zombie movies where somebody shoots a zombie and the zombie goes down, they think he's dead, and well, he's not dead. You know, so. That's another thing I want to bring up real quick. Why is it that in every single zombie movie I've ever seen, well, almost, I think there was maybe one, it's like these people have never watched a zombie movie. You shoot them in the head. Isn't that the rule?
Right.
I mean, I don't get it. These people are like, what the hell is that?
Well, it's just as bad in horror movies where like people are like, well, let's all split up and go look and see what that noise was.
Right? Oh, God.
You have never seen a horror movie in your life, have you?
Right, exactly. But yeah, definitely, I think in preparation you could watch Zombieland, but I think with preparation in mind, you know, a lot of zombie movies portray the whole event happening, whereas, you know, you see one person get infected, and then the next thing you know, the whole world's crawling with zombies. I mean, split, boom, boom, you know. And I don't think that would happen. I think it would take some time for this to happen, you know. I mean, and when I say time, I mean upwards to maybe a month or so for it really to get out of hand. Mm-hmm. I think if it was a fast-moving virus, if you were living in the city, you'd be kind of screwed, because but I don't see this being a fast-moving virus. People would have to slowly die from it. You know, I mean, so I don't think it would become apocalyptic for a good month or two. You know,
the University of Leicester, I'm going to say, in England.
Leicester.
Leicester, is that how you pronounce that? It's got a C. There's no H in there. Where'd they learn English? They're England, for God's sakes. Anyhow, they did actually a study on that, and they put in a bunch of parameters on. Basically what the zombies would be, the fast, the slow, how quickly they would infect. They did things like the zombie would die after 20 days if it didn't have food.
Okay.
They did population at 7.5 billion, and they assumed that 90% of the population was unaffected by a zombie would be infected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they figured that it would definitely happen especially because of, like you said, cities and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Well, they said in about 3 weeks, not much would happen. Okay? Zombies would slowly start multiplying. But then at about day 20, all of a sudden the zombie epidemic would start exploding.
Okay.
And this is where the ratio would start mirroring the many people going down as we're going up. And we would start losing people very rapidly, to the point that on day 100, there'd only be about 181 uninfected people in the world.
Wow. Really?
Yes, this is what now they've done other parameters too, and they did one where actually there was 300 humans that survived, and there was one that they actually had that at 1,000 days there was still 67 million people surviving, which is not really that much amount of people, since there's almost like 8 billion people in the world.
Right, exactly.
So that's not a lot, but they say that could happen. Now, in the first scenario, they said there is still hope, even though there's only 181 people. They said within 27 years we would start making a bounce back.
Okay.
27 years.
Yeah, that would make sense to me, though. I mean, really, that would fit, you know, with the timeline. But yeah, but I think, you know, I was mentioning the disease factor, you know, and it being infected. And one scenario that I was reading recently was about if rabies ever became airborne. I think if that was the case, I don't think that there would be much survival at all. I think, you know, maybe if somebody was immune to it somehow, but I mean, if it became airborne, we'd all be screwed and dead. You know,
Well, that's the whole thing too. If somebody's immune to it, there's a cure type thing. Kind of like in iZombie.
right? Okay.
You know, they're finding that they can actually create a cure using zombie genes of people who are unaffected by the zombie bites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. Just like any other disease, you know, there's flu shots now to
Sure.
keep you from getting the flu.
Sure,
Why
sure.
not a zombie shot?
Yeah. 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 Well, and in fact, isn't that what they do in World War Z? They finally discover a way to make people immune to it. You know, so it doesn't turn the zombies back to living people, but you know.
Well, and I sure think that any pharmaceutical company that fell onto this would jump on it immediately.
Oh hell yeah! Oh my god!
You know, with all their greed, you know, here, you don't have to worry about being a zombie anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And can you imagine the price they would put on it? I mean, good God! Oh my God! But yeah, so now as far as actually surviving it, some zombie experts, there are zombie experts
definitely.
out there, advise that you should probably stay close to home. You know, because you see all these movies and like in Walking Dead where they're traveling all over the place. They say that's not a very good idea, and the reason for that is because you know your area.
Right.
And if you think it's bad where you are, it's likely even worse somewhere else.
And if you don't know the area, it makes it even harder.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
But they do say too, though, if you're alone or only like one or two of you, that you should leave and find other people because you're not going to survive by yourself.
I was about to mention that. Yeah. Even people who are introverts and don't like people, like me. You know what? The fact is, human beings are tribal, and you're more likely to survive with other people than you are on your own. You know?
Like a lot of the things I read on this subject was that the bathroom is the most vulnerable place. You know, because you're kind of vulnerable when you're going to the bathroom.
Right.
So if you're by yourself, it's a lot worse than at least if you have somebody out there guarding and watching the door for you while you're in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything to have somebody watch your back in a situation like this would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know that I would survive the zombie apocalypse because of that factor alone. Because I spent my life in managing people. And if you get involved with a group of people like that, my natural instinct would be to manage the thing and take over.
They'd be putting you out for
And
bait.
they'd be putting me out. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I know they would. Yeah. You know. But and the other thing too, what you have to look out for are other groups of people. Same scenario that's in like The Walking Dead. The zombies really aren't the issue. The issue are other people. You know, I mean, and because, I mean, think about that. I mean, people would go nuts during this thing. You know?
I'll be honest with you. That's why I stopped watching Walking Dead, The Living Dead. wrong movie. It ended up being more about drama than the zombies. You know, it wasn't the fun zombie, let's just go kill people movie anymore. It was actually starting to be very dramatic and really got in depth with some drama there for a while.
Oh, it still is. Oh my God, yeah.
And I was like, this is not what I was looking for in a zombie movie right now.
Yeah, if you're looking for a horror movie in The Walking Dead, you're not going to find it. No, but that's the reason it's been able to sustain itself, I think, for so long. Because if it was just a horror movie, it wouldn't have lasted but just a season. But I mean, they have to get you involved with the characters, and I think that's the most important thing if you're looking to have a sustainable series. So
I have enough dramas going on in my life.
Yeah,
it's very well done, though. I did like what I did watch of it.
But if you do have to leave your home, they say make sure that you're prepared. Again, I mean, if some people say, watch Facebook, because that's how you're going to see the progression of this thing. And so if you've got a month or so to prepare for this, and it seems inevitable, get together a bug out bag.
Yep.
And I think this is a good idea anyway, because I mean, regardless of zombies, put that aside, I think it's just a good idea to have a survival preparation bag put together. And what we're talking about, we're not talking about just like a duffel bag, but I mean, there is something out there called the rule of 3. And what it is, it's 3 minutes without air and you're dead. 3 days without water and you're dead. 3 weeks without food and you're dead. So keep that in mind if you're putting together a bug out preparation bag. And what they suggest is things like at least a good 3 gallons of water should be in your vehicle. You know, if you can.
That's not going to last you long either.
It's not going to last you long. But they also suggest putting in your bag a water purification system, and the reason for that is because that 3 gallons is going to last very long. Now, you and I know, like for instance, in Southern California, water, even here in Vegas, water it's almost non-existent, you know, and so. But if you could get to a natural spring or a river or something like that, and you could take that water and you could purify it. So,
yeah, remember, because during the apocalypse, you're not going to have no running tap water anymore.
Yeah,
all the luxuries like that are going to stop. You know,
Absolutely.
government's going to shut down. Everything is going to shut down.
And even that, you know, a lot of these zombie movies and zombie literature that you find, they don't really give much of an explanation as to why it's happening. When I think that that's a good idea, because if it started happening, nobody would know what's going on, you know, especially if it hits suddenly. Right. Nobody would know what the hell is going on. So therefore, it could be something in the water, you know, that's causing this. And so, you know, you would want a water purification for that reason alone. Whether or not it would work on this particular disease is another story. But at least you got to give it a shot. But the other things they suggest you throw in your bug out bag are perishable food items, a first aid kit, a fire starter. I think that's very important. You know. Camping gear, extra clothing, a radio, most definitely a radio, a flashlight, a utility knife, and a weapon. Now, so that brings me to the next point. What kind of weapon would be the best? Because you see in these zombie movies where people are firing guns. Well, that only attracts more zombies. Right. So although it might be the optimal, safest way to rid yourself of the situation you're in, it's just going to create more problems, I think.
Well, again, it depends on the type of zombies. Some zombies more noise might not make a difference to them. We don't know.
Yeah.
But a gun is going to run out of bullets. That's my biggest thing.
That's a thing.
And do you think that you're going to be able to go to a gun shop and pick up some bullets? I saw one thing I was watching and about when I was studying this. It was on YouTube that said, you know, how to prepare, like top 25 things. And the first thing it says to do is go to a gun shop.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, everybody's going to be at that gun shop trying to get in the last thing. Second is, how are you going to get into it? Theirs are probably bolted down pretty good.
Sure.
And even if it's not, you're going to be lucky to find anything left by the time you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they also say the same thing about, you know, people always say, go to a Walmart or a Costco or something because you've got endless supply of stuff. Nah, you don't. You know, you're likely to find yourself in the middle of a riot, you know.
Exactly, a riot.
I mean, do you remember back when the Beanie Babies were the big deal? And do you remember all the chaos that happened at Toys R Us? I mean, imagine that if people are
going for food and
water. I mean, it would just be mayhem. So
another thing,
prepare before.
First aid and medication, always have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Find as much medication as you can. And first, they say check your neighbors' houses. You're going to have more luck checking your neighbors' houses for medication and first aid and water and food than you are going to be able to go to a grocery store.
Yeah, you might also end up dead because of that, you know, I think, because a lot of people, again, would stick close to home, you know. But
then again, you're looking for other people. It might be good. You know, just don't go breaking in other people's house. Knock on their door. Ring their doorbell.
I think, though, that people are paranoid by nature. And so if something like this was going on and your neighbor, who you know quite well, comes over and knocks on your door, I think he would be met with a gun, you know, because it's like, hey, I know you're here to steal my shit. And, you know, I think people are just like that by nature, you know. But one of the things they tell you to stock up on is, and you can do this now, is when you travel and you go to a hotel, stock up on those little shampoo bottles and soaps. And there's two reasons for this. I mean, first of all, if you can keep yourself clean, you really need to do it. Because, I mean, otherwise, I mean, you're going to end up with lice, infections, whatever it could be. You know, so there's that. But also imagine in a world where this stuff is high commodity, so you could use it for like, bartering for certain things.
Just don't let people know how much you actually have,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because then you're in for invasion.
yeah, yeah.
What I found interesting is FEMA and the Center for Disease Control actually has the information on how to survive a zombie attack.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
And
I've never read it, but yeah.
I went and looked at it and stuff, and what I thought was interesting is basically what they're doing is, like you said, you should be prepared for this for earthquakes, wind, tornadoes,
Yeah.
Earthquakes, fires, all natural disasters.
Sure.
And they said by using, because it's a weird subject, by using zombie apocalypse, they're actually getting people to pay more attention to the site and learn about what they should do in case of an emergency.
Yeah.
I thought that's kind of an interesting way to get people to pay attention.
Yeah, and you got to remember you're going to be in this for the long haul.
Right.
You know, I mean, take for example that big earthquake that happened in Haiti back in, I think it was 2010, I believe. And you know, I mean, 4 years later, they were still struggling to come out of that. You know, and they had massive outbreaks of cholera. You know, so I mean,
Look at Flint, Michigan.
yeah, look at Flint, Michigan. That's another good example. But yeah, one of the things I've also read is that you know, in these zombie movies, you always see these people in these big SUVs or like these monster trucks plowing through zombies. They say that's really not a good idea because, again, you're in for this for the long haul. So, like bullets run out of ammunition, your big SUV is going to run out of gas, but quick, you know, and then you're going to be stuck, you know. So they say that you should have a motorcycle or a bicycle, or some people are even saying get a smart car. You know, I've got a smart car and I fill it up once a month. For $20, I get a full tank of gas and it'll last me all month.
That would work, I guess, and motorcycles would be okay. But I mean, if you got 1,000 zombies surrounding you, motorcycle's not going to protect you at all.
Right.
But if you had a 4x4, you could run over those zombies and possibly get out of there.
Yep.
So-
Yeah, that's very true. And also if you've got to go into country, you know, you're better off having a 4x4.
Right,
or
they say
something
going
like
up in the mountains is a good thing because the zombies, especially if they're the slow type, you're going to be able to pick them off with a gun as they're coming up, as long as you have the gun and ammunition.
Yeah, I think, yes, you got a good point, but no, because like, let's say it happened here in Vegas, you know, and you know, where it's going to be concentrated is like down on the Strip in downtown Vegas. But what happens in Vegas doesn't necessarily always stay in Vegas, because once they are without food, they're going to start branching out. So I think going out toward the desert area here in Nevada, I mean, no matter what, you're going to be screwed eventually. And if you have this huge horde of zombies coming out toward you,
if that happens anywhere, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you're at that point if you have a large horde of zombies, unless you're in an armored facility.
Yeah. I've seen some of these. I saw a house that was made to be zombie proof, and with a push of a button, all your walls go down over your windows. They're like metal shutters, and the whole house was up on stilts. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. If my house was up on stilts and there was a horde of zombies surrounding my place, I think that house would go down pretty quick. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. But
another thing is a lot of people don't think about that I read was try testing out your local library. A lot of them have bunkers underneath them. And
really,
have
they
supplies. A lot of them do.
I didn't know
That's
that.
where a lot of the fallout shelters and stuff like that were built, especially in older ones.
Huh? Really?
So, and who's going to go to there to go, let's hold up in the, people are, like you said, are going to go to the mall, go to houses, things like that. Maybe on a boat, an island. Well, they say go to the library.
Yeah.
So I thought that's kind of a cool idea. At least to bunker down until you know it's a little safer. And things.
Yeah, sure.
Like you said, once they find out if they're out of food, they're going to have to go somewhere else, and they will move on.
Right.
But again, I think that is the type of zombie. How well can they smell you? How well do they know you are,
And in fact, I've read some literature that they go strictly off of sound. I've read some literature where they go strictly off of sight, that they don't hear very well. So yeah, who knows?
the parameters that you can set for this are way too big. So the only thing you do is like, you know, the Center for Disease Control says, is be prepared for everything.
Prepared. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and folks, if you're interested in survival, there are a lot of good survival books out there. You know, you talk about the library. You know, go to the library. You'll see a lot of like survival guides. Max Brooks, who wrote World War Z, before he wrote World War Z, he wrote the Zombie Survival Guide. Is that what's called?
A field guide, Zombies Field. I know which one you are. I loved that the book. It was great.
The book was great because it was, I mean, and the funny thing is it was listed under humor, but other survival guides aren't. You know, and he did some serious research into this, and he took the survival guides that are out there, and he combined it with the idea that you were surviving a zombie apocalypse, and it turned out to be an excellent book. He's got a lot of great advice in there. You know, whether you believe the zombie apocalypse is going to happen or not, again, you know, I mean, it's just good advice for surviving something that's cataclysmic. You know, look at Katrina. You know, look at all the floods we've been having lately. I mean, the tips that he has in this book would apply to those things too. You know, I mean, because it comes down to just survival. You know, so
I think one of the points you made before was a good point too. Watch some movies.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I think especially Zombieland.
Zombieland is definitely a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, like, ones, if you like zombie movies, you got to watch this one. Train to Busan.
Oh God, love that movie.
And again, shows you how to survive and not pay attention to other people. That movie was definitely about the survival part of it.
There is a website out there that I find fascinating because they explore every angle about the zombie apocalypse, and it's called the zombieresearchsociety.com. I'm going to drop a link to that in the description below because I think it's really worth going there. If you have any interest in zombies or the zombie apocalypse, they cover everything in there. You know, I was there today. I even saw an article there about whether or not a zombie's penis would fall off as it rots.
Okay. That's important to know in case you want to make little baby zombies,
right? And one of my biggest questions about zombies is, and always has been, is would they defecate? You know, I mean,
they would have to get rid. I mean, if they're consistently eating brains,
Yeah.
what are they going to do? Just get fatter and fatter and fatter,
Until they explode,
or their
or
belly
what?
explodes and it all empties out that way?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's always been a question in the back of my head about zombies. You know, because I mean, if that's the case, my God,
Imagine the smell of that.
oh, God, that would overpower the rot. Lord.
One of the studies I looked at gave Nevada an 8th place in the states of surviving.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's that. Well, then again, there is a lot of open plains here.
Well,
you know?
it's not only the open plains. A lot of the things they said were because of the type of people. There's a lot of veterans here. There's a lot of athletic people here.
Okay.
That type of thing. Military. We have military, I think, big time.
Yeah.
Now, all these things would make a factor in how well they
I suppose
are
that
able to
makes
survive.
sense. Yeah.
And I thought it made sense too. But one of the reasons they gave it too is because you can actually go to a zombie store somewhere here in Vegas where they have everything you need to survive zombies.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've never been there, but
I haven't been there either. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's a zombie apocalypse survival store.
right. Well, I guess it started off as a gun and ammunition place, but then they started putting in all this other stuff, and so they touted it as a zombie apocalypse survival store. Yeah, I've always wanted to go there.
And maybe we should take a road trip, see if it's near us, and take a road trip there.
Yeah, definitely. But anyway, what else you got, man?
That's, we basically covered everything. I mean, it's basically survive any way you can. Be prepared just like you would for another emergency. That's about it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Again, if the zombies are fast, slow, different, that's going to make the difference.
That's a huge factor, I think. I mean, because we don't know what to expect, So, but again, I mean, really, what it all comes down to is survival, no matter the cataclysm. So, I mean, I think you should be prepared. Now, I don't want to come across as one of those nutty preppers out there. I think within reason, I think you could put together a bug out bag that you could stash in a corner in your garage or something like that. Pretty easily, and you don't have to go nuts about it, But I think it is important to do that, Ralph and I are both from California. We both lived in California, and there, I remember we always had an earthquake preparation kit. Always. I mean, it's just a smart thing to do, But when the zombies are coming to Vegas, I'm gonna have a bug out bag ready. And I got a smart car. I'll get further than anybody else.
Yeah, until all the zombies, it takes 3 of them to lift it up and turn it over and dump you out.
Well, the wife and I can ride in the car, and you can get up on the top on the roof.
I'll stop them. Okay. Give me a baseball bat.
Yeah, like Lucille. So anyway, let's get out of here, folks. What do you think? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's probable? Let us know. Drop a comment on the bottom. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, keep thinking and question everything. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell so you can get a reminder every time we upload a new episode.